It's just under 600 PS2 games in the collection now, and oh my goodness, it's hard work to catalogue them all. I've just spent part of the morning going through making sure the catalogue on the computer is up to date, so the phone list is up to date, and then putting them into alphabetical order. Because yes, people might say, "Oh, you nerd, you sad person, you've got your games in alphabetical order." But when you've got almost 600 of them, the only way to find anything is if it's in alphabetical order, so you can actually get to it. So yeah, it takes a while to do, but when your internet connection is being flooded because you're uploading a video for your wife, then yeah, you find ways to deal with it, especially when you work on the internet and therefore can't do any work until you get the connection back. Come on, come on. Yep, that's it. Oh. Hey guys, here's a fun fact for you. Sometimes when you save things to Dropbox and you've been working on a file for a long time, it ends up messing up. It loses the end of file marker, and as a result, you can't open it again. And that's what's just happened while I'm trying to put together this book. I've got 20 pages so far, which isn't great, but I should have all 100 by the end of the evening if I keep working hard. However, I've just found a file that I can't open. On page 21, the first comic for that page, I can't open it. And the reason is that I've got no end of file on it. It's broken. Check the Dropbox version, it's broken too. So, I have now got to redraw a comic for this anthology. Otherwise I can't have that comic in it. And of course we need the comic. So, basically I've got to redraw it. Cue drawing montage. since most of today has been basically working on the new comic book, I thought I'd tell you a story rather than just have a very short and quite dull episode. But now that I've sat down, I've just realised I need some props. Give me a minute. Okay, this is the very first episode of The Life of Knobty Mouse. Quite poorly drawn, quite poorly lettered as well if you think about it. And this was something that I created in 1996, before webcomics were really a thing. Now, they existed, because when I put this up it was the 17th ever total, and I'm talking about pre-web as well with that, because Witches and Stitches and THE Fox and things like that started on Usenet rather than the web, because the web didn't exist when they started. So, I want to talk briefly about why I created comics and why you could create comics too. When I created these, it was because I was bored and I fancied making something. I'd written short books before that. I'd written 3 novellas before I'd started on these comics. They were terrible. I wrote them on my Amstrad Mega PC, and they were a lot of fun. They taught me an awful lot about writing, but they weren't very good. And the thing I remember mostly from those books is that the first one was bad, but the second one wasn't quite as bad, and the third one was significantly less bad, because practice makes perfect. And I'd seen that when I was doing that, and I thought, well, I always liked comics. I grew up with the Beano and the Dandy, and I later moved on to Victor and things like that. And I loved the way that comics combined really good art with some jokes or a proper story, things like that. So I decided that the best thing I could do if I was bored and I didn't have anything to write about, but I had some jokey ideas and thought I could maybe put something funny together, was to create my own comic. And if you notice, I really didn't understand the conventions of what was going on. I've got here no gutters between the panels. The panels just essentially run into each other. Now, that's not something you normally see in a comic. If I grab any comic off the shelf next to me, you'll find that every single one has gutters between the panels. Every single panel has a gutter between it, and that breaks them up so that you can easily identify them. Now I'm going to work out where this one goes. Volume 3. Every comic does that. Knobmouse doesn't, because I didn't understand what I was doing, but I learned as I went along. I had no storyline, I had no characters really, and I had no idea how to draw. But I started a comic anyway, and you know what I found out? You can make a comic without having any knowledge about how to make a comic. You don't have to know how to draw, you don't have to know how to write, you don't have to know how to lay a comic out, and you can still make a comic. And that's really what I want to hit home with for this discussion. You don't need talent. If you're starting out, you can practice and that will build talent. Talent is all about knowing how to do things. And you don't know how to do things unless you learn. And the best way to learn is by doing, especially in art. Art just requires you to get on with it. So where did I get my characters from if I had no idea what I was doing? Well, funnily enough, Knobmouse is a pre-existing character. I did design pretty much all of the world. I had some basic ideas, but the majority of the world I built as I was going along in the comic, but I didn't design the characters. The characters I had created beforehand from computer games, and the computer games were based on characters that I'd already designed for just playing with friends. Now, just the same way that Winnie the Pooh was based on a little bear, and Tom Bombadil from Lord of the Rings and all of that was based on something, some sort of doll with red boots. Sorry, with yellow boots. And his boots are yellow. That's about the only part of that Tom Bombadil. No, Tom Bombadillo, something, and his boots are yellow. And so his boots were yellow. But he was a pre-existing thing. It was a bedtime story for Tolkien's kids, which was based on some sort of doll. Winnie the Pooh was based on a doll. That kind of thing. It goes on like that. Knobmouse was based on a little sticky foot bug. Say hello to Knobmouse. And Spam Cat. Now, these are characters from the Knobmouse stories, but you can tell he's really worn out. I got this guy in about 1986, 1987, and he was a sticky foot bug, like this guy. But he's kind of fallen apart because his feet fell off. He was stuck to the back, to the headrest of my bed for several years, and then fell off because that's what happens when you wear things out. But I used to play with these guys with friends, we would enact storylines and things on my desk with my computer. My computer was a main part of Blob City when we were doing that, because it was a good bit of terrain. I left that bit out from the comics because Blobland is actually a big white mass in the comics, but the idea is that the character developed from the little sticky foot bug became something that I used in make-believe when playing with friends when I was really young. Actually, now I'm thinking about it, 1988, when I started drawing pictures of Nog Mouse. And he became part of computer games when I was learning to code and program in computer games. I made an adventure game for him with Graphic Adventure Creator on the Amstrad. And from there he developed until in 1996 I started drawing the comics and putting them on the internet. Find inspiration like that and you will have no problems when you're making stuff. But it doesn't even have to do that. If you've got a stick figure and you'll develop from there, like XKCD did, then you can start a comic. And I'm saying all this because I've seen several times people saying, how do you start? I love comics, how do you start? I can't draw superheroes, I can't draw detailed like I see in Marvel and DC. You don't have to. The Marvel and DC are great, I love them, I've got a pretty substantial collection left and right of me. But at the same time, they're not the whole of comics. And I've got 2000 AD here, it's very punk. If you ever saw original punk fanzines, all the comics in there, they look dreadful. But they're definitely comics. It's art for art's sake in that sort of situation, and I really like that. I came from fanzines myself. So I would say, if you have an idea, get it down on paper or draw it on your computer, or if you're the kind of person who likes sprite comics, grab some sprites and make a comic out of sprites. Nothing's stopping you. All I want to say from this is do what I did. If you want to make a comic, just make a comic. Get it out there. You can develop from there, or you could leave it and let it be the same. Doesn't matter. Dinosaur Comics is very, very popular because of its writing, but the artwork's pretty much the same every time. Nothing wrong with that. It doesn't matter about quality of artwork. All you have to do is make sure you're writing. And that's all I wanted to tell you about with this. Make comics if you want to make comics. Don't let anything stop you. So that's pretty much all I've got for you today, so thank you very much for watching. I'm going to get back to work because I've found yet another one where there's been a problem with Dropbox, so I've got another comic to redraw, and yeah, that's going to be fun. So I'm going to leave here and get back to work.